So for the past couple of months, technically since January 20th, 2025, a lot of people have been talking about the economy and how we're going to be in a recession or there's going to be an economic downturn and all these different things that people have been worried about. And then the Trump administration let loose the tariffs yesterday, April 2nd, 2025. The tariffs went into play. People called it Liberation Day. And today the S&P 500 and the Dow and everything else kind of took a baby nosedive. So the S&P 500 dropped 3.7%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped nearly 3%, which is over 1,000 points, which is a lot in one day, right? Now, what's crazy to me is a lot of people, like I said, have been talking about the economy. Are we going to be in a recession? Is it going to be awful? Are we going to have higher inflation than we did the last 4 years? Are interest rates going to go through the roof? Is the housing market going to crash again like in 2008? Is the unemployment rate just going to skyrocket? What's going to happen with jobs? What's going to happen with imports and exports? It's been a lot the last couple months of talk since, again, Donald Trump took office. But what I would like to point out to some people is there are things to pay attention to kind of give you an idea on if we're going to go into a recession or if there's an economic downturn. And it's not the normal things you're going to look at like, I don't know, egg prices or the cost of a car or the cost of a house or even the interest rates on things, right? These are some random things that the powers that be pay attention to. So according to this, predicting an economic downturn is tricky. Obviously, nobody really knows 100% right on the dot when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen. But there's like unusual indicators that economists look at. And these are definitely unusual indicators. But they've said that over time, they've been pretty consistent in things that they pay attention to kind of give them an idea if there's going to be an economic downturn. So the very first one is the most random thing in the history of random, and it's men's underwear. Now, when I hear men's underwear, for some reason, my very first thought is the mid-C19 pandemic, when men's underwear and socks were under lock and key at Walmart and CVS and Walgreens and Target and places like that. Like if you wanted underwear, you wanted socks, you had to get an employee to let you get a pair or a pack from behind a plexiglass door. Absolutely ridiculous. Well, now they're saying that when times get rough, people tend to delay buying non-essential items, and apparently men's underwear is considered a non-essential item. Former Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan reportedly kept an eye on this one. Sales dropping could signal folks tightening their belts. Or because they don't have underwear on. That's another reason to tighten your belt, because if you have a loose belt and you have on no drawers and your pants fall down, you have now given everybody and their mama a show, and then jail probably would occur after that, because indecent exposure is a thing. But men's underwear sales is a huge thing. I feel like they say men's because women, we have a tendency to still spend, and I hate to say it like that, but still spend even in hard financial times. But underwear for women, I feel, is a little different than underwear for men. It is definitely something that we replace a lot more often than men do. Ladies, you know what? If you know men, I'm sure you are aware of that too. A lot of y'all probably have holier underwear, and women, generally speaking, do not. But another thing they look at is what they call the lipstick index. Now, I heard that and I was like, I don't know if I like how that sounds, but the lipstick index, this is what they say. Coined during the early 2000s recession, this theory suggests that when the economy sours, people skip big luxury purchases and opt for small indulgences like lipstick. It's a sign of consumers seeking affordable pick-me-ups instead of splurging. Let's think about it this way. Over the whole C19 fiasco is the way I'd like to look at it. People weren't going out and buying new homes in the beginning. Now, towards the end, the housing market went through this massive boom where everybody was selling. You could make a hand over fist profit in the sale of your home. It was absolutely crazy. The interest rates were rock bottom low, like the lowest they'd been in forever. It was paradise for anybody trying to sell, or more sell than buy. Buy, you were having to pay a pretty high price. But if you were trying to sell a home, you were really raking it in, right? But a lot of people, before that little bubble hit and then it burst, but before all that, a lot of people were instead, because you were either confined at home, the whole quarantine funness, a lot of people were going out and making small changes in their home, painting their house or putting a new rug in, or maybe getting new cabinets or a new piece of furniture, which still is a pretty big splurge if you stop and think about it. Most of those things are not cheap. Paint can be cheap, especially if you do the physical labor yourself of painting the room and everything else. But all of that is still cheaper than going out to buy a house. So even that let you know kind of a lipstick index. And I feel like that is where people are now in the last year or two, if you've been looking at the housing market, I know that doesn't have anything to do with lipstick, but we're talking big purchases, right? And a house is a pretty large purchase. One of the biggest you can make besides like a vehicle or something, but apples to bananas, right? But there's been a lot of houses that have been hitting the market. If you look at Zillow, or what's the other one? Open Door, or there's the one that starts with a T that I can't think of to save my life right now. But a lot of those you see, you go check on them, because I love looking at houses online. It's just fun. It gives you design ideas, decoration ideas, especially when they're fully decorated for the pictures and for the showings and stuff. You go look at there, and every day I swear you see more and more pop up on these websites, because more and more people are trying to sell their home, but less and less people are going out to buy them. So we could be in that lipstick index they're talking about, where more people, instead of being able to go out and buy the new home, they go, you know what? It may not be what I want. It may not be the best house, but let's just make little changes to it. We'll do a little this, a little that. Instead of spending big money, we'll spend a little money. That could be a thing. Another one. This one makes sense to me, but it's not something I think most people are going to pay attention to, but cardboard box production. So according to this, a decline in cardboard box demand can indicate a slowdown in manufacturing and shipping, key drivers of economic activity. If fewer goods are moving, it's a subtle clue that commerce might be stalling, which is very true. Now, I don't work in the cardboard box manufacturing position. I have no idea who just sits there and manufactures cardboard boxes, but somebody does. But if you see that start to stall, that could be a very good sign that we are either in an economic downturn or headed towards one, or a recession or something. Because if you're not, you don't need to make boxes if nobody's making goods to put in those boxes. And if nobody is buying those, you don't have to ship them out. And now, and I hate to say it, with the new tariffs and people worried about how things are going to go import and export wise, we may see a lower production of cardboard boxes because less things will be imported and exported. The plus to that, though, we could see a lower production of cardboard boxes because more things are made here, and maybe you don't need as many cardboard boxes to ship in country, but that's still not great. You still want to have just as many cardboard boxes because you don't want production to just stop or slow down. Anyway, next one, champagne sales. That was weird to me, but I'm like, okay, because a lot of times when there's something big or something good or people are celebrating, they pop bottles of champagne. Like that's the thing. You see it in the movies and the commercials, and everybody's popping champagne bottles, right? So according to this, high-end bubbly tends to flow freely during boom times, but when the economy falters, luxury purchases like champagne often take a hit. A drop in sales could reflect waning confidence among the wealthy. So not everyday people like you and I'll go out and buy a bottle of Andre for $7.99 at ABC or Target or someplace like that. That's pretty cheap champagne. I'm not popping the big stuff, right? But when they're saying that when you see a decline in champagne sales amongst the wealthy, the well-to-do, that's when maybe you need to worry about there being an economic downturn. Next one. This one actually makes very, very much sense to me. Skyscraper construction. You think about how much it takes to build just your regular ranch style one-story house, or even a brick and mortar store, just a one little store. Let's say a McDonald's, shits and giggles. Say McDonald's, how much it takes to build a McDonald's. Now think about doing that as a skyscraper, all the way up and then all the way out, and then all the people it takes, all the supplies it takes, everything it takes. It says the skyscraper curse suggests that the completion of record-breaking tall buildings often coincides with economic bust. Think of the Empire State Building, which was finished during the Great Depression, or the Burj Khalifa opened just before the 2008 housing crash. Overambition in construction might signal a bubble about to pop. Okay, so now I'm thinking to myself, where have we seen new buildings going up? Now, Atlanta, where I moved from a couple of years ago, when we go back through there's always construction going on in downtown Atlanta. Always. There might be a little bit of a stall in that after the guy fell off. I think it was like a 60-story building a couple of weeks ago. He did not make it. You cannot bounce from a 60-story fall. Maybe 1 or 2 stories you'll hit and bounce, but there was no bounce. He was immediately done. And that's going to cause a lot of issues in Atlanta area. Anytime something like that happens, a lot of issues, obviously. But I'm trying to think of if I've seen or heard of any massive new buildings going up. It used to be you hear about them going up in Dubai all the time. But if you guys live somewhere where you've seen skyscrapers going up, especially like more than 1 or 2, please leave it in the comments, because I'm very curious where that's happening right now. Now, the last one here, I can attest to 1000% as somebody who back in the day used to be in this position. Restaurant wait staff behavior. So according to this, when waiters and waitresses start pushing pricier menu items or seem overly eager for tips, it could mean they're feeling a financial pinch, possibly because fewer customers are dining out, hinting at broader economic stress. And we've talked about the restaurant industry, the tipping industry, all that stuff numerous times as well. But a lot of times if you go out to restaurants and it's kind of slow, like you've been to a restaurant before and you go out and you've had to wait for an hour and you're like, it must be really good. Look how many people are here. Generally, your waiters and waitresses, they are, hi, how you doing? What can I get you to drink? Would you like an appetizer? No. What can I get you for your entree? Are you interested in dessert? No. Here's your check. Bye. Have a good night. That's how it goes. When you get to a restaurant and most of the tables are open, there's no wait, and you can go right on in. Generally speaking, the wait staff, whatever you have, waiter, waitress, will spend a little bit more time really going over those appetizers with you and trying to convince you that you really want one. They'll try to upsell you on some drinks. Would you like a bar menu? Then the entrees, they're going to upsell you on the entrees, especially if you say, I haven't been here before. What's your favorite meal? Generally, it's going to be the most expensive one on the menu. Then they're going to try to convince you want dessert. And if not dessert, maybe just a coffee before you go to really try to elongate that bill. Because like we talked about last time, a lot of people tip off the total, not off the service. And if your total is larger, your tip is larger. So a lot of people, that sounded wrong. A lot of waiters and waitresses, if you go out to eat and you feel like they are pushing a little harder on making your bill a little bigger, then maybe there's an issue there that we need to be paying attention to. Now, of course, none of these are foolproof. These could all just be whatever, but the fact that they do pay attention to these random 6 things, I think is very important. And I'm going to notice myself paying attention to stuff like this as well. They're more like anecdotal than scientific. Science is only good for so many things, right? But it's still something that comes up in economic discussions and things that are looked at. So I just thought it was very interesting. And I wanted to share this with you guys because the more you know, the more you know. It's always good to know as much as humanly possible about every little thing out there, right? So I would like to know what you guys feel. Do you feel like we are in an economic downturn? Are you worried about a recession? Do you feel like we're doing better now than we were the last 4 years? Are you skeptical for the next 4 years, especially based off of how the stock market opened today after yesterday's tariffs were pretty much, I mean, Donald Trump held up a whole billboard of tariffs in and out, like those kind of things. And then today, the uneasiness of the stock market, I'm sure a lot of people are also uneasy because of that. But I'd like to know how you guys feel about it. So if you'd like to leave a comment below, feel free to do so. If not, no harm, no foul. Still love you no matter what. And I hope you guys have a fabulous rest of your night. Goodbye.